I know, I'm finally talking about Battlefield 6. You guys have been so excited for this. I have received so many DMs, so many emails, so many text messages. I don't know how some of you got my number, but if you did get my number, please tell me how. That's a serious security breach. No, I'm just kidding. I haven't said anything on YouTube in a while now, and I haven't received any discourse from just about anyone in forever, so yay. Anyway, I've been an overnight manager at Walmart for like about 5 months now, and oh my god, it is killing me, but the money is wonderful. But it's killing me. Anyway, I made time to play the Battlefield 6 beta, and I genuinely had a good time. And I want to start off this video with the most positive thing I could say about it. We need to applaud this game. We need to applaud and support Battlefield 6, even if we don't want to play it. We need to be in favor of its existence, at the very least, because it is a game coming out in 2025 that is full sending its theme and tone. Sort of this like fun gritty, which by the way is a new aesthetic I'm coining the term of. It's a fun gritty military shooter. It's not like gory gritty, like super realistic, trying to be a milsim, trying to be edgy. It is fun gritty. It's dusty, it's tonally like darker, more realistic, but it's got that Battlefield Frostbite sort of ragdolly, doughy fun that we do enjoy and we have enjoyed for a long time. Battlefield fans, there is a demographic of Battlefield fan that for some reason acts like they should actually receive benefits from the VA for playing Battlefield. And for those of you out there that are still citing Desert Combat mod as something on your "Hi, I'm a real gamer" resume, please crack open a window. Your room smells like farts. Battlefield fans fell so hard for the only in Battlefield marketing and the fact that like Battlefield 4's box art literally shits on Call of Duty. Like people have been like glued to this for so long, this us versus them, our game do what Nintendo don't mentality, that I just, oh my god, it's been one of the hardest things about making Battlefield content forever, is because even if you out it like this, even if like you start a video saying, this is an embarrassing part of the fan base that I wish didn't exist because I love the games, this comment section will still have somebody be like, hey buddy, I used to serve in the jungles of Battlefield Vietnam, and it's like, alright kid, like I don't fucking give a shit, I'm not salty. Anyway. A game being tonally consistent and full sending its aesthetic and vibes as like its main marketing point is fantastic. It delivers an experience through its trailers and its cinematics and its marketing that it's actually going to deliver again in the form of the actual product. And we don't get a lot of that these days. We get games that immediately ditch their vibe, their aesthetic, their seriousness, whatever, for microtransactions, seemingly aimed at the most impulsive members of the gaming sphere, children and people with no aesthetic taste. Yes, the guy that's willing to spend 30 of his hard-earned dollars on a bundle in Call of Duty because it's kind of funny is not the guy that we want to be reading the opinions of when it comes to the aesthetic and like artistic integrity of the game we purchased. So we don't want to hear from that guy. So we need to applaud and support this game, even if we don't want to play it, because that is an important thing for games to be moving in the direction of. Deliver me the experience I actually want from your game. Whether it is modern military, period accurate, like historical combat. If I'm buying a shooter like Halo, it needs to aesthetically, thematically, tonally feel like Halo, otherwise what's the fucking point? Just call it something else then. There's no point in your game having a time period or a setting or anything if you're just immediately going to ruin it. And I'm almost 30 years old, and what I miss most from old gaming isn't really anything other than the fact that, one, they weren't trying to like strip you of your dopamine and provide you with such a crippling fear of missing out that like it just ruined the overall experience. But it was mostly just the fact that they sold people on an experience and then provided it, instead of like slowly eroding the experience and the tone and the nature of it, the vibe of it even, and just eroded it for money. And that was, that's the thing that I'm most, boomer about when it comes to my gaming opinions. That being said, this is an EA game. Wake the fuck up, people. I swear to God. The EA does not have the best track record at supporting their games or being a good company whatsoever. I say this about every COD too, right? Like, I remember when COD World War II was coming out and everyone's like, we're back. We're so fucking back. Call of Duty is so fucking back. We've left the jetpacks behind and now we can love COD World War II because COD is back. You are still dealing with an Activision product? Shut the fuck up. Like, I get it. Be hyped, be excited, and, you know, throwing the publisher in your face every time you're excited about something, yeah, that definitely gets old. But just, how has Battlefield been treated as a franchise over the last 10 years? If you ask yourself that, if you look into that, you'll find that it has not been pretty. Terrible launches, cut support, bizarre content decisions, and the worst thing EA does is trend chase, moving Battlefield slowly and methodically away from the core values and meaningful aesthetics of the series in order to chase the all-precious dollar. I firmly believe the only reason Battlefield 6 might stick to its aesthetic and vibe is because of how many people on social media are begging for the game to do that. It's a common coworker opinion now that Call of Duty would be cooler if it stopped adding all these goofy, dumb skins. You know how I know this? Because I work in a Walmart in Idaho, and the few people in my building that play Call of Duty all say the exact same thing about how, man, it'd be cooler if they stopped adding all these goofy skins. It makes the game feel childish and stupid. And so now that that's becoming more of the common consensus amongst people, now EA can be like, hey guys, we've been here the entire time. No, the fuck you haven't, EA. You are a trend-chasing piece of shit, and I somehow trust you less than Activision. So no, I do not want us to be blind to how Battlefield's been treated and how Battlefield's been supported and how DICE has been abused for the last fucking decade. This is still an EA game. And if we just ignore that, like, we're just setting ourselves up for disappointment. So go in excited and, again, applauding it for the things I said earlier, but just, you know, keep in mind what we're dealing with here. The next thing I have to talk about is that not everything is versus Call of Duty. If Battlefield 6 only exists to be compared to the current release Call of Duty game, when Call of Duty will release like 5 games in the span of one Battlefield's life cycle, we're playing the wrong game here. We're doing the wrong thing as a community of FPS gamers, as people that talk about video games on the internet. Call of Duty is actually, and this might be surprising to some of you, not the end-all be-all thing of FPS gaming, to the degree that every time a game with an M4 comes out, we need to compare it directly to COD. Battlefield 6 should be able to prevail on its own without Call of Duty being stupid. If you are looking at Battlefield 6 through the lens of I hope it kills COD, there is something deeply wrong with you. You are not a shareholder. You play video games, hopefully for fun and enjoyment, and hopefully your value structure isn't tied to the sale numbers of a COD game or a Battlefield game or a game at all. Hopefully, you are playing the game to have the experience you want to experience in your free time with your friends, to build a YouTube channel or, you know, Twitch streaming thing, you know, off of. You are hopefully not that guy. I'm really getting sick of like the 2014 fanboy wars just not being over. It's gotta stop. Like, I feel like that died for a while. I feel like people got sick of it. I don't know. Something changed in the wind, and now people can't shut up about the other thing. So, no, Battlefield 6 has to stand on its own. It can't just stand on Call of Duty. Speaking of Call of Duty, why is Battlefield 6 so fucking overstimulating and hectic? Why is Battlefield 6 seemingly, the gameplay loop is seemingly based off of the trailers of like Battlefield 3 and 4? You know, like those old Battlefield trailers where everything's just like exploding around the players and they're dodging bullets and it's like, you know, bump, 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 and then like this guy almost dying and like getting like shot. Everything's exploding. Basically, everything's just like this big dramatic set piece of explosions. Why is that just all of Battlefield 6 gameplay? I'm being a little hyperbolic, obviously, for the purposes of commentary, but like, okay, why is it so hectic? Why is it so disastrously destructive and hectic? I know people were criticizing 2042 for having shitty destruction and way too vast of maps that just were kind of boring, but there has got to be a middle ground between what 2042 did and this. And I've seen this criticism come up in other people, and when they say it, they get told, oh, you wouldn't have survived Battlefield 4, you wouldn't have survived Battlefield 3 or Bad Company 2. And I don't agree. I feel like outside of like actual clusterfuck maps or specifically objectives on like certain maps that were always clusterfucks no matter when you spawned on them, I don't feel like those games were like that. I feel like those games were just designed better. I feel like those games knew how to develop lulls, which is something that I think modern developers are really fucking bad at, both in Call of Duty and in Battlefield and in Halo. I feel like one of the reasons as kids we could sit and play Halo 3 every day for 3 years, and the reason we could play Battlefield 3 every day for 3 years, and the reason we would play Call of Duty games through their entire life cycles was that developers used to develop lulls. We used to have moments of downtime where you could take long flanks and plan things out, where you got to play with the sandbox a little bit. You didn't always have to be in the most hectic map on the most hectic objective with everything exploding and being destroyed around you. And I feel like Battlefield 6 is overcorrecting from the criticisms of the previous title, and we're getting a clusterfuck game. I'm hoping this isn't the case. I'm hoping when they add legacy maps, they play more like the legacy titles. And I'm just hoping we get a nice variety of, maybe like, every couple maps is like, small, medium, then large, small, medium, then large. And that would be really cool. And I say small in terms of Battlefield small, like I guess like an Operation Metro style map, but I don't even really want those. I don't play Battlefield to shoot down a hallway into people. In the same way I don't go to Call of Duty to play Shipment 24/7 so that I never have to, think again. I just don't load up those games or buy those games for that experience. I want variety, and Battlefield is the variety game. I'm sorry, like, in Call of Duty, you get the people that just want Call of Duty to be reduced down to simplistic, symmetrical maps, right? And I guess that makes some sense. But I think about like old Halo, old COD, old Battlefield, and there was ebbs and flows. There was low points and high points, and developers used to do this on purpose so that your experience wasn't just completely overwhelming and exhausting. Like, just in the same way that scrolling through Instagram might be a fun way to kill 10 minutes, or a good way to completely burn out your dopamine receptors over 2 hours, like, games can be that, right? You don't need to have complete dopaminergic burnout from the most hectic, slide-canceling, movement god, cramped maps. Everything's being destroyed. Everything is just a giant clusterfuck wall of sound. And it just does not need to be that. And I'm really worried that Battlefield 6 is going to launch poorly, kind of sit in content limbo for a long time, and then when it starts getting meaningful, interesting maps and content, the game will then announce that they're ending support. Going back to what I was saying earlier about the bad track record, we've seen this with Battlefield before, and I don't want to see it again. I need variety, and I need the game to not be trying to assure people through its gameplay loop and through its marketing and through everything about it that don't worry, you'll never be bored. I wasn't bored playing Battlefield 3. I wasn't bored laying on top of a hill with a sniper rifle in Battlefield 3, occasionally getting one kill every 3 minutes. That was kind of fun, actually. There's a level of decision making that goes into a game where you can either play a very complicated, messy, hectic experience, on an objective and play as an objective player, or hang back and flank, use a jet, use a helicopter, use a tank, use an AA gun, drive your friends around with a Jeep covered in C4. When you have that sandbox experience where you're all on this giant map together and you are all doing what you want to do in order to win the game or get cool kills, I feel like that's more exciting when you just we're all in this city together, we're all in this giant oil field together, versus, we're definitely in a hallway. This is definitely a road that goes up into the enemy base, and they're gonna funnel down it, we're gonna funnel into them, and it's one big choke point. I feel like that level of predictability and chaos is going to make the game really, really susceptible to burnout over time. Variety is the king of Battlefield. It's one of the reasons that Battlefield 2042's gameplay was so bad to people, was the gunplay was so Call of Duty, it was so hold down the trigger and melt people, that even when you had those longer range engagements, they weren't engaging, they weren't exciting to be a part of. You weren't tap firing and adjusting for spread, you were just kind of hosing everybody in these vast nothing's happening in them fields that just kind of sucked, and occasionally a tornado showed up that just don't stand in it. 2042 was just sort of depthless, and when you have complicated maps that have ebbs and flows, developed lulls, and gunplay that encourages you to actually take into account the ballistics of the weapon with spread and bullet drop and whatever, you have engaging combat and engaging sandbox. You actually have firefights that go on for a while. You actually have experiences that are only in Battlefield. Whereas if I just want a hectic, everybody pile on the objective, everyone's dying, getting revived, blah, 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 everything's a fucking disaster. Like, that's not an only in Battlefield experience anymore. It's just, that's chaotic. That sure is chaotic. But we should develop our games a little better than just being chaotic. But I still go back to what I said at the beginning of this video. We should applaud and support this game for being like something that's sure of itself and is willing to lean into itself and its own aesthetic. I hope it maintains that, even with EA's bad track record. And we just have to be able to talk about this game without always bringing up Call of Duty. It is embarrassing, it is stupid, and it needs to fucking stop. Call of Duty is going to be around for a long time after Battlefield 6 is out of its life cycle. There is really no point in wasting your time and energy. I'm mostly speaking to the young people that spend their time doing this. There is no reason for you to be looking at one product through the lens of your comparison to another product. And none of you fuckers that do this have any constructive feedback like, hey, what could COD learn from Battlefield? What could Battlefield learn from COD? What if Halo did this? You never do that. You guys never do that. You just say one is better than the other. And I don't know where this sports fanboy shit came from or why it feels like it's making a really obnoxious comeback right now. But I'm gonna tell you right now, you weren't raised right, your room smells bad, and I hate having any amount of discourse with you. You know who you are. And to end this video, I'm excited as hell. I'm excited. I am excited to have a Battlefield game that's sure of itself, that's modern military, that's sort of that gritty, fun aesthetic. I love this game. Was it a perfect beta? Did I do really well in it? Did I have great gameplay? Was I mowing down people left and right and just winning constantly? No, it was actually a bit of a harsh learning experience. I hadn't played video games in like 3 months that had any like actual like skill requirements. So, yeah, Battlefield 6 was a little tough for me. But I had a lot of fun, and I'm super excited for the launch, and I really can't wait to stream this game and make videos about like loadouts and stuff. And if Battlefield 6 is awesome and Black Ops 7 sucks, then I have a game to cover, and if vice versa. Or if they're both good, I have 2 games to cover, and oh my god, 2 cakes? I'll eat both of them, thank you. Anyway, see you when I see you guys. Goodbye!